Alright guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to make a vegan plum buckle. First we are going to pit and quarter some plums. We are going to make a flax egg. We actually need 2 flax eggs, so we're going to be using 2 tablespoons of ground flax and 4 tablespoons, aka a fourth a cup of water. Alright, now we're going to mix that together and set it aside to let it gel up. In the meantime, we're going to preheat our oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Alright, so I have out here measured 2 cups of milk. I have soy milk. You can use whatever plant milk you want. We're going to need a whole stick of butter, but we have 2 separate bowls here. So half of the butter is going to go into the actual batter that's going to be on top, and then half of the stick is going to go over here because it's going to be kind of like a sprinkle that goes on top. So in our smaller bowl for the top, we're going to put in a fourth a cup of flour, 1 cup of granulated sugar. I'm using an erythritol sugar. You can use whatever kind of sugar you want. We're going to add a teaspoon of cinnamon to that also. So the only other ingredient this needs is the half a stick of butter, which we'll get to. All right, over in this bowl, we're going to add in our dry ingredients. Our wet ingredients are going to go right in this measuring cup with the milk. So we're going to add 3 cups of flour to this. Then we're going to need a tablespoon of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of salt, and a teaspoon of cinnamon. Now to our milk, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Now we do have another cup of sugar to use, but we are actually going to cream that with a half a stick of butter, and that is going to be added to the bigger of the 2 bowls. The batter bowl is what we're going to call it. I'm just mixing together all of these dry ingredients and all of these, and then we're going to get it out. You can do a stand mixer, you can do a hand mixer, you can do it by hand if you want an arm workout, but basically we're going to take a half a stick of our butter and a cup of sugar, and we're going to cream that together. Alright, you're going to want a pretty deep little casserole dish here. We're going to spray it with some oil, and then we're going to put our plums directly in here. And I told you guys wrong. We're using a whole stick of butter in basically for both bowls. I know that sounds like a lot, but that's the recipe. Okay, I'm going to be using a hand mixer for this. I'm going to add a cup of sugar that I had set aside, add that to the butter. And we're basically just going to beat that together until it's creamed. Obviously, you want to use softened butter for this. That'll make it easier. So this is basically what we're looking for, fluffy butter clouds. And now we're going to add in our flax eggs that we had set aside right in here. And we're just going to mix that together some more. So it's all incorporated. All right, now it looks like that. We're going to add in our milk and vanilla mixture. Easy peasy. Dump that right in. Mix that together again. Now we're going to add our big bowl, the batter bowl ingredients, the dry ingredients, into this bowl and mix it up again. Alright, and our batter is looking nice and fluffy. We're going to pour it directly on top of our plums. And that is looking beautiful. Now we just need to do our topping. So I'm actually only going to use a half a stick of butter. So a fourth a cup of butter in this. And I'm basically going to use a fork to make it into little crumbly bits. Alright, so now that we got our crumbly bits, we're going to just sprinkle it over the top of the buckle. Now you don't have to do the sprinkle, you don't have to do the crumbly bits, but it just adds so much more. It's pretty, it adds more flavor. But if you don't want to do this, you could literally just sprinkle some sugar on top and some cinnamon and call it a day. Alright, after that is all on there, we're going to pop this into our oven for 40 to 45 minutes. Alright, so my pan I thought was large enough is not, so I had some spillage. So use one that is deep, but also just longer or wider also. But my top is browning too fast, so I'm going to put some foil on it. All right, and there she is. That is our plum buckle. It took significantly longer to cook than normal because I used too small of a pan. It should only take about 45 minutes. This ended up going in for another 20 minutes on top of that, and I had some leakage, but it's still gonna be delicious. I would say use a larger casserole dish. I think the reason I use this is because I can't find my large casserole dish for some reason, and I was like, oh, this should be fine. It's not. So you know. But yeah, it took about 65 minutes altogether to get this cooked all the way through. You basically want a toothpick to come out clean, or I used a chopstick. It should look cooked all the way. It is going to be juicy inside still because of the plum juice that has come out, but the point is that it kind of assimilates with the buckled batter. So we're gonna let this cool for a little while before we slice into it because it is gonna be hot. And then we're gonna serve it with some ice cream. All right, it's been about an hour. Now we're gonna cut into this bad boy, or I guess scoop into it. Oh my gosh, you guys, look at that. Oh my goodness gracious. And you're gonna wanna make sure you scoop out any of the juicy plum bits at the bottom, but look at that. Look at that, so good. And there she is, guys. I like to serve this with some vegan vanilla ice cream. It's literally like if a crumble and a cake had a baby. That is what this is. I hope you guys give this one a try and enjoy.